Okay, for those of you who haven't seen holes tapped before, I thought I'd film this. For the bulk of you that have seen it before, yeah, there's nothing special here. So I'm going to start out with the 440 holes in the back, mostly because this is the easiest tap to break. 4 is in plastic or aluminum. As long as you go slow, number 4s, you shouldn't break them. They cut pretty easily. You get down to the 2s and the 1s and the 0s. When I say 0s, that is a 0.80 thread per inch tap, and as you can see, it's microscopic in comparison. Somewhere around here, I even have some double-aught and triple-aught, which are even smaller than 0. So for the numbering scheme, in English screws, the stuff smaller than what is a 1/4 inch are numbered, and for 0 is a specific size, and for every number above that you add on, is it 156? There's a diameter size you add on for each number. So a number 6 is 6 of those sizes, where 8 is 8 of those sizes greater than a 0. And then going the other way, a double-aught is subtract that size, and a triple-aught is you subtract that size twice. Somewhere in the back of my brain I know what that number is, but it's eluding me at the moment. Anyways, back to task. So what I've found for tapping PETG or 3D prints in general, I printed this with, I think, 3 outer layers just to give me some extra plastic to tap through in case things are off. The holes are sized per the tap size, or with the expectation. The holes are sized to the tap drill size. Nothing special there. The expectation is, due to the extrusion, they're going to come in slightly undersized, which gives you more thread engagement, which is nice. But the downside is you got to remove more plastic with the tap, so these little flutes fill up. You don't need cutting fluid for the cooling and the what's the other reason you use cutting fluid? For the cooling and lubrication. Well, I guess it is lubrication. I'm mostly using the cutting fluid to coat the plastic as it makes its little shards, so that way it pulls out with the tap versus bonding back to the plastic, because the cutting force will warm it up real quick, but it cools off really fast. This is a little tap guide. All it is a close fit to the shank of the taps, and it helps me get it started straight and tap straight. That's usually my biggest problem, is just getting these things started right. So all you do is you start it, twist it in. Once it starts cutting, I just sort of half turn, then 1/4 turn back. Basically, it's a big game of feel. So what I'm doing here when I spin it in is I'm just sort of feeling for things to start binding up. And when they do, I back it off a 1/4 turn. And what that does is, as the flutes cut, they make a little burr. And if you don't break that little burr off, it's going to plug up your flute and your tap. So the flute's that little gap between the cutting surfaces. And if you fill that full of a burr, you'll lock your tap, and then if you're unlucky, you'll snap the tap off, because the force to break that burr is greater than the strength of the tap. So you do a partial build up, and then when you back up the tap, it sort of folds the burr over itself and it snaps off and clears the ways. So right there, my resistance was getting high, and can you see that? I don't have an autofocus in video mode, but right here it's just plug full of plastic. So now I'm just going to take a rag and rub it like that to get the plastic out of the flutes. And there you can see that little orange caterpillar. That's the plastic that was built up in it. And then just apply some more oil and do it again. Mechanically, you can tap these holes without oil. The tap will not care. It'll just cut as it will. But like I said, what I found is if you don't oil it or you run it in a power tool, like I'd love to chuck this up in my little drill and just, it works fine. But it heats up the plastic so much it starts bonding to itself, and so instead of cutting threads in the plastic, it just sort of makes this melty mush that all just pulls out. You end up with a hole that's not really threaded, if that makes sense. So right there is one hole down. So I will make a time lapse, I guess, of doing the other 8 holes on the back, and then the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 holes in the front. So see you when that's done.